MykroWaveTV.
One plan. We've done well in the services, tourism, and BPOs, but logistics is another plan. Whenever I speak about logistics, I must acknowledge Tony, because he was a strong advocate for logistics. But we must get back into manufacturing. Jamaica must resuscitate its manufacturing base. And so we decided that we're going to look at all the assets that the government has. And either we seek to develop it, or we're going to make it available to entrepreneurs to develop. And so when we were approached to have this land divested, we were very supportive of it. Granted, there were some who thought, it would not have been possible, given, as was said, the incredible negative perceptions that reigned on Spanish Town. But the entrepreneurial vision was successful, and I want to, at this point, commend Michael Sobrati and P.D. Scott and the Muslim for having the vision, but more so for having the courage to put and we have struggled with that because incentives can lead to fiscal challenges. You could end up in a race to the bottom. But there are ways to support development. There are ways to encourage industries without necessarily having to give fiscal incentives. Now let me just quickly say that between administrations, the previous administration and all administrations before that, there was the understanding and agreement as to how we come out of debt and remain out of debt. And that is, we need an omnibus legislation to cover incentives. So we give a set of incentives, they are transparent, you know how to access them, there's no more. And that is rolled up both in the omnibus legislation and in the special economic zone legislation, under the special economic zone authority. So there are incentives. But there are always people who will be saying, give more incentives and I'll fix up this factory. Give more incentives and I'll do that. Well, what are the other incentives that business people would want? First of all, business people would want a well-trained labor force. If government absorbs the cost of training the labor force, that is a significant incentive for business. So training has an externality. In other words, the government spending on training gives a private benefit to the person trained, but it also gives an external benefit to the rest of the society, including the business. If you notice, the representative from Transparency pointed out the labor force. The training of labor and your labor force is one of the biggest assets that any economy can present to investors. And therefore, the Heart Trust NSTA is a critical partner in driving training. So this project would not necessarily be as attractive without the government's deliberate and instrumental investment in training of the labor force. There are other incentives. There are other ways in which government supports these kinds of development. And one of them, which is going to become increasingly tangible to the average citizen is peace and security. Now, if you were to consider, why is it that no one else before now actually saw the vision for this whole textile? It was because the perception was created that this era was not safe. And the cost that it would take from the private individual to make this place safe would make the business unprofitable. Do you see the weight that crime and violence places on our economic development? Do you see how it suppresses us? And do you see why we cannot be ambivalent in once and for all dealing with the gangs that are in the business of violence? They are not our friends. They mean us no good. We cannot be ambivalent about it. And they have held down Spanish Town for decades. I say to you today, if we achieve peace in Spanish Town, there would be a rushing sound of investors into this place. Why? Because you have a population that is largely well trained. You already have basic infrastructure in place. And you have some of the most creative people in and around this area. So, the government's strategy, which runs parallel to our economic strategy, is our strategy for peace. The less than 1,000 criminals who make Jamaica be perceived as unsafe can be easily addressed. And they have been largely addressed. And we will not relent in ensuring that those less than 1,000 people prevent the 3 million people who either are Jamaicans or people working and living here achieve their dreams and aspirations for self-fulfillment. I cannot be clearer about our strategy. Jamaica will attain peace as we have had peace in our country up to the 1960s, when our murder rate was the equivalent of that of the United States, less than 3 per 100,000. We will get back to that, and we will get back to that within this decade. Unless there are those who cringe at the idea of being deliberate and instrumental and direct and targeted at criminals. The same criminals who are involved in scamming and extortion and being the footmen of gangs, the same criminals can be rehabilitated and they can come to work right here. They can come to work in the call centers. They can become the data scientists. They can become the people who are manning all the machinery and the equipment in the bakery. Why not? Why not? The truth is, we need their labor. We need them. And therefore, our policy is clear. And I'm now speaking to our young men and women of Spanish Town. Heart trust training is free. Go and get a skill. Make that decision. Put down the gun, put down the violence, and say, I am going to heart. We've made it so easy. If you're just leaving school, we have a program called the CARE program. If you didn't get enough CXCs, we will support you. To go and get training. We give you stipend. Path is clear. Choose the right path. There will be a job for you. You're not going to get the big pay right away, but work with the program. Every year it gets better. Or go the wrong path and deal with a judge or retraining. So it's clear what we have to do. Now, the strategy of developing economic zones are not new, practiced all over the world, but they are necessary, particularly in environments where we need to bring all the necessary lines of effort to support business. So, an environment like this, you would see that you have transportation coming in to make it more efficient for your staff. You would probably have shared services such as a common cafeteria and other services, maybe a little ATM and banking services, all the logistics necessary to make your operations easier, more efficient and more productive. But I also know that you are considering energy. Energy, 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 energy. So you don't have to worry about taxes and so forth. We have dealt with the fiscal incentives, another step on the fiscal ladder. The government policy is clear that we are willing to partner with business, we are supportive of business, we will engage in public-private partnerships, and we will make government-owned assets available to the private sector to develop. Another step on the rung of investment. Security, big issue. Government is dealing with that. There is no question that this administration has dealt with it in a decisive way. And the results will continue to be in our favor. Jamaica will be a peaceful country. Not a step on the investment plan. Now, energy. Jamaica continues to be one of the highest energy cost countries in the region. On the demand side, there are some things that we can do. For example, we have reduced the GCT on electricity. So all of you here, if you have the JPS app and your bill cycle is now, you can go on it and you will see no longer 15% GCT, it's now 7%. Major. And we're spending over $1 billion on trying to encourage prepaid metering, so that we reduce the line losses, what they call the non-technical losses. And we are also supporting the wiring of houses. Again, another initiative to reduce the cost of electricity, which is a huge part of the cost of living to households. But we have to reduce the cost of electricity to business if our economy is to grow, and we are to realize our dreams of becoming an industrial and manufacturing hub in the region. It is clear to us, renewables are an option. Solar prices, particularly for panels and batteries, are coming down. So there has to be greater investment. But it has to be carefully managed, because what you don't want to happen is for there to be a rapid migration from the national grid into individually supplying energy solutions to renewables. Otherwise, that will just drive up the unit cost for everyone else who remains on the grid. So there has to be a national strategy as to how we reduce energy costs for everyone. That is the next step to be able to get to a really larger flow of investments in Jamaica. And in a few days, I don't want to say everything here, but in a few days, you will see our policy and strategy unfold as to how we intend to make a really profound change in the cost of energy for the average Jamaican. Now, all of this is moving towards, as we had announced, our pivot to growth, the next chapter. There is one more element, and that is efficiency. I believe I've spoken a lot on efficiency and what we plan to do. We are working towards making it more efficient. This project took some time, right, PV? In terms of the not just the regulatory time, which is Norman's fault. I don't get your attention now. But just the process of just divesting the land, it did go through an involved process. So we're going to deal with that. Well, we have started to deal with that. So I hope that I have laid out to you the steps that the government has been taking, which would have led us to investments like these. But many more investments. I mean, you would have driven along the North Coast and you would have seen massive tourism development. Just huge tourism development. In housing and construction, and you name it. Just yesterday, the Factories Corporation completed phase 1 of their redevelopment of another special economic zone, or free zone at the time it was called, the garment free zone, which was another textile garment factory back in the days in the 80s. And they have transformed that into a modern economic hub, where they're having everything from warehousing to a media company to a technology-based company. All kinds of companies are doing business there. They just opened that yesterday, and I'm here today again doing this. So it tells you that there are, there's an energy for investment. But in as much as we see this energy, we have not yet realized 50% of the potential of foreign direct investment and local investment for Jamaica. As I've outlined the steps we need to take, the steps we have taken, and the steps that we are about to take, I am confident that Jamaica will become a fast-growing economy in this new era. I'm confident that Jamaicans will be able to achieve all their dreams and aspirations. They will be able to fulfill themselves right here. I looked on with great despair that a lot of our young people still have their eyes cast overseas. I'm not sure they're really reading carefully what is happening overseas. And that the days of general migration, that those days are fast coming to an end. And the solution to that is not to become depressed and self-defeated. The solution to that is to look inward for the opportunities, because there are opportunities. The opportunities need to be met by creative, entrepreneurial people. And we as the government need to encourage a platform on which creative and entrepreneurial persons can do well. The truth is, we need maybe another 200 Michael Subrates and P.B. Scott, and Nicholas. And if we have those and they're going out there finding the opportunities in Jamaica, You know, this one initiative would more opportunities, how the entire country benefits, which is you benefit through employment and income, better service, less crime, better facilities, and Jamaica grows. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for being the attentive audience, and I hope that I have communicated to you the role of the government in development. This is a purely private sector development. Government has nothing to do with it in terms of any debt or any partnership, except making it possible by providing the land, making it possible by providing the right economic environment, making it possible by providing the training in the society, making it possible by ensuring that there is security, and we're going to now make sure that energy and efficiency are well rooted as a part of the Jamaican landscape. Choose Jamaica.
Yeah, we all know what season we're in, right? Soon come. And I'm sure I speak for everyone as well in saying that we look forward to hearing your plans on energy. We all want lower light bills, don't we? Oh yes, oh yes. We all want a well-trained labor force, and I also support the call for getting back into manufacturing in a major way for Jamaica. Thank you very much, Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Let me introduce our final speaker for today. P.B. Scott is the CEO, Chairman, and Principal Shareholder of the Musson Group. Over the past 2 decades, he's conceptualized and led their expansion from a Jamaican consumer wholesale distribution business to a diversified group operating in 30 countries. Anybody wants to guess how much Musson Group makes? Like how much money? Any guesses? Very close. So today the Musson Group has a turnover in excess of 1.7 billion with a B, US, not Jamaican dollars, annually, and over 8,000 employees. Let's welcome P.B. Scott to deliver our closing remarks.
Thank you. I came out with those figures, but well, Prime Minister, thank you very much. Minister Hill. I almost said Minister Hilton because I was used to saying that, but Minister Hilton, you were there. I remember going to Guatemala with you and looking at free zones in Guatemala in the port. And I think when I look at this development that exists today, a couple of things really sort of resonate with me. One is that don't necessarily always trust your own judgment, because what Michael said is 100% correct. Michael is quite an individual. For those people who know him will probably understand what I'm saying. But I think it's best to describe it almost like having a sibling that can be somewhat annoying a little bit and just keeps repeating the same thing. And many years ago, we bought the land here, behind here, and Eppley acquired, which is an associated company, the land over there, and Musson owned the land over there, and we owned a plot of land on the hill there for a while. So we had this land, and we were using these warehouses, and Michael would come out here, and he would go, P.B., we need to move our entire business to Spanish Town. No. It's not happening. I'm not moving the entire business there. It's like, no, you don't understand. We can move everything here and centralize. I'm like, no. The wharf is where we're at. We've got to be close to the wharf. So, no. This is the place. Spanish Town is the place where we need to be. And then one day, we're out here, and he hijacked me. with his father, actually. You're part of this story, Mr. Savarti. And he goes, you need to come next door. And when we went there, he introduced me to, I believe, the Imam, the gentleman who's in charge of the mosque, who in Spanish Town. And the gentleman who's in charge of the mosque in Spanish Town was running some sort of business, I don't know what it was, in the ruins of this facility. And he was a very nice gentleman, and he was showing us around. And it was very dilapidated. When I say it's dilapidated, I mean, you could only really go through the bush, and then there was what I thought was a sort of drug lab. It had like sort of glass tubes and stuff in a corner, and I thought, well, that's a bit dodgy. And there were a lot of gutters, and it looked like there was stuff in the gutters, and I thought, well, it's best not to know what's in those gutters. And he was like super enthusiastic, and Mike's going, look, the roof, it's good. And I'm looking at the roof, and it looks rusty, and there was a fire the week before, right? So everything was burnt out, and there was trees growing through the ground, and it smelled terrible. There were dogs and dead dogs, and it was pretty bad. And I'm like, no, this is not, no, I don't, forget this. So then, about a month later, he goes, PB, just come again. And I'm like, no, this is really annoying now. But anyway, I went again. And he goes, look, I think this thing has got a lot of opportunity. And, you know, it's a huge building. And I said, boy, Mike, I don't know. I really don't know. But this time when we went, right, the building over there, where you see it on the video, it had half a roof, but all of the steel had been stolen between the time that we first saw the building and the second. It is all gone. Like, and this was not like small, this was like someone had got a crane in here in the night and undone the steel, you know. And I'm like, well, this is going to be really problematic. I mean, how do you even stop people from stealing the steel and doing this? And he's like, PB, I think this can work. And I'm like, well, all right, Mike, but if it's going to work, then you have to put your money where your mouth is, and we'll do a deal where we'll put in the majority, and you put in, and we will create a company, and we'll do this thing together. And he's like, all right, great. And then he disappeared. And for 2 years, right, maybe 4 years ago, for about 2 years, no one at Tiggetti's Grant could find the managing director of Tiggetti's Grant. It was a bit of a disconnect, because when Mike gets something in his head, he's just like super obsessed. And you know, the Prime Minister spoke a little bit about environment, and he's absolutely correct, you know. You need the right fiscal environment, the right environment to be able to look and develop and build something. You need the right tax incentives. You need all those things in order to have the confidence to do something. But I think the most important thing is you need people. People are the most important thing to you, whether it's through education, access to productivity, teamwork, because people get things done. And when I look at this, I really have to say, Mike, thank you to you. You dragged me into this project. I would love to stand here and take complete ownership, you know, and feel sort of, but it's a project, as the Muslim Group, we're extremely proud of, very proud of. And it's a project that has taken something that was clearly broken and of little value or adding no value to anybody or the community. And it's been transformed into creating something that every day is giving 2,500 people today and 5,000 people tomorrow a place to go and work. And that really is fantastic. So, you know, Mykro, I think a lot's been said in the videos, etc. And one thing I said to him, because I'm not really a branding guy or a marketing person, I'm more of an Excel spreadsheet person. I said, Mark, go figure out what we're going to call it and stuff. And he came back and goes, we're going to call it Boston, Jamaica, sobriety. All right, sounds okay. And then I was talking to one of my nieces, and she goes, Uncle Bibi, you know, have you been to Michael J. Sobriety Technology Park? And I was like, what? What do you mean, Michael J. Sobriety Technology Park? And Lisa goes, yeah. It had middle names, J. And you know, I would say, Mike, we started as Boston, Jamaica Sobriety, but let me tell you something, it is Michael J. Sobriety. Congratulations, you deserve it. It's been wonderful to be in this. Boston has invested we've done close to 1 million square foot of BPO, between Standing Motor, which is 400,000 square feet, there's about 400 or so here. Chalmers in off Malines Road, we have 2 buildings with 100,000 square feet, so that's 1 million square feet. And you know, roughly, I think there's probably around 12,000 jobs that have come from our investment in BPO. But that has come from a whole environment that's allowed us to invest in BPO. And you know, the government, the existing government, the previous government have been very consistent in developing that skill, that sort of tax structure. Jam Pro have been very supportive. And what we found is if you build it, they will come. It's very difficult to take a foreign investor and show them push and an imagination. But once it's built, people can believe and they can see it. So I really don't want to take too much time, but I would like to say thank you to everyone that came here today. I do appreciate it's a hot sun, it's midday. The tenants that are here, thank you very much for the commitment. You know, some of you took a leap of faith, others walked into a finished building, but regardless, we're really proud to be associated with you guys, and we are going to build another 300,000 square feet behind us over there. So we're looking forward to keeping the momentum going. Scott, you know, thank you. It's not easy overcoming the perception of Spanish Town, and I hope with this investment and development and some of the other developments that have been happening, that perception is being removed slowly, because the reality is Spanish Town should be the engine of growth for Jamaica, and we're really proud to be here, and we look forward to be making more investments, so thank you. Natalie Leeds, the MP, she's been very supportive during the period of time, she's not here now, but she spoke earlier. And of course, Corbin Hill, Minister Hill, I think you've been here 10 times. I've held the ladder for you twice. You've gone up and gone through a window. You know, you're always incredibly supportive. And you know, I think we're very lucky to have very good people on both sides of the corporation, but as we are now, very supportive organizations, supportive government, and we're very grateful for that. And to all the people who worked on this project, you know, when Michael referred to teamwork, it really was a team. I'm glad Roger can now go back to his day job and run Harrell. Darren, you really are an excellent architect. I don't know where you are. There you are, Darren, stand up, please. I'm not going to make a Darren joke, but Darren is a secret weapon in our organization. And any time where we are moving racks in a warehouse, moving an office, or doing anything, Darren gets a call on a Friday night and he sends the drawings by Sunday. We're actively changing things Monday morning. You know, so he's really key, and thank you very much for that. And Roger, thank you. And thank you to all the team. And thank you everyone for coming. And thank you very much and have a great day. Enjoy. We do have some, if you don't have health cover from Canopy, you can get it. For insurance from General Accident, we're right there. So anyway, have a great day. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, PB. So that's what MJS stands for. How many of you are wondering? I was wondering what it stood for. But Michael, you left out some parts of the story though. The dead dog in the gutter. So it's a good thing we have visionaries like this, because not all of us would have seen that vision, right? It's a good thing, and here we are today. Well, that just about brings us to the close of our ceremony for today. I understand that many of you have received like a ticket to go on the tours. Who has ticket number 2, 3? There's 1, 2, and 3. Look at your ticket, and let me just tell you, so those of you on tours 2 and 3, you are to remain on standby. Our first tour is going to be with the Prime Minister, TV Scott, and Mykro, and I assume a few other people, and the 3 of you can move over here towards agility for the first tour. Those of you on tours number 2 and 3, stay on standby. Tour number 2 will be led by Roger Brinkall, tour 3 by Perry Wright. And for those of you not going on any of the tours, we invite you to visit the booths. Must have likely heard it has a variety of samples and displays for you, our guests. Everybody have a great day. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Richard. No passwords. No, I'm not going to so much more.
What's inside the
Call center. What is it written? That is good.